This is Lee with 82 Game and 12 on YouTube channel Sons of Liberty 75. This is my, I guess, pre-Halloween video of Glory and Empire First Victories, Wellington versus Napoleon. We have quite an interesting development here. The last video I thought would be the last, but it turned out not to be. I did not finish the turn though. So this is the Vimeiro scenario 4 in the companion book. If you're doing it with the Western Ridge, it's scenario 2, which is what I'm doing. So just to keep from any kind of confusion, I just call it scenario 4. Because there's going to be, I guess, quite a few people that don't have the Western Ridge map, which is really not that important unless you're wanting to attack from using the French. You're wanting to attack on the Western Ridge. And if I was to move this a little bit back, like so, you know, it's they really, it would have been nice to have more of the map over here. Just like, you know, instead of, you know, they've doubled here, I mean, doubled all the way over to here, right there. So that much. And they could have just given you more here so that you can do more of an approach with the French from a further distance out. And it also would give you maneuver room over here. But I understand because, you know, the maps add quite a bit of I guess, price to the, but see, this was a add-on, and they could have just, you know, charged a little bit more. And I don't know what the reasoning was for the way they did the map, but you know, I could easily probably photocopy in color part of this map and just slap it down over there. So, hold on a second here. There we are. Can't. Really? There it is. But I'm not going to get off onto that. But to me, that's the whole purpose of having the Western Ridge. You know, you've got that added space that you could extend the map. And also not only that, but the maneuver. You could add maneuvering to this map on, you know, the western side of Vimeiro. But there you are. So just adjusting this Fitbit watch. Okay. I thought that the British could possibly end the game, or the battle, the game battle, I'm gonna put this back. There's so much of this game that's so, I think, brilliant in the mechanics and outstanding in the counters, the way they look, the order of battle that you're given. It's so colorful and easy to see what's what. And I look forward to the next volume. I want to see what they do with Fuentes de Honoro, which is, for whatever reason I don't understand, it's got very little publishing to it. There's not very many games out there, quality games, that have to do with Fuentes de Honoro. I've got this, what is it, the SBI magazine. Okay. But the counters are all screwed up on that. And as far as I know, they didn't issue replacement counters, which they could have in a magazine. It's just a magazine game. I'll pull it out if and when the other volume gets out, then I'll pull it out, and Kevin Zucker actually did the map, or his name's attached to the map. And the mechanics of the game are very similar to his operational, the Library of Napoleonics, his that he's done for a long time. And somebody made a comment, I don't want to go too much into this, about the night rules movement and so forth, that you could just use the daytime movement, but that still doesn't work, because in his system, night covers, one turn of night might cover 6 hours. And if you, in that turn, if you just move a unit what it would move in an hour during the day, that doesn't correlate. So, but hey, go ahead, and if you want to test it, go get the La Patrie in Danger, and I think it's from if you do the campaign, you're trying to do the campaign, and you have the first battle versus the Russians, and the Russians are really outnumbered, and then you try to get your troops over to can't think of the name of the town, the village, town, whatever, to oppose the Prussians and Blucher. You can't get over there. Not in the time frame that Napoleon got his army over there. So, and I don't know how they magically, are able to fight that battle at the time that they're supposed to fight it. But I don't want to get into that. I'm going right here. But I put the comments in there, and I appreciate the comments, because it got some discussion, if nothing else. And we learned, and that's one way we learn more about a topic, is through discussion. If we don't discuss it, then all we have is our own opinions and our own views. And so, I like comments, because there's times I make mistakes and I don't even notice them until somebody points them out. That's a comment, So, don't think that pointing something out is going to be taken the wrong way. We can even disagree on things. If you want to disagree, then let's have a discussion, and maybe you change my mind about something. I've changed my mind before. But if we don't ever have any kind of discussion, then I'm going to keep thinking the way I'm thinking, unless I get in there and I do more research myself. So this is a wonderful game. Okay. don't take my bashing, and I don't really call it bashing. I'm just really, I hope I didn't want it to be bashing, but I did come across, I know I did, pretty hard. But this is a very, I praised this game multiple times, and I'm not going to stop praising it, even with the issue, okay, that to me is pretty glaring with the train. But the mechanics of the combat movement, all of it feels right. I haven't really had any issue with the mechanics of the game. It's the map and of course the counters, and that they gave you 3 rule sets, and one of them is really, it's really complicated. I've been playing these games since the 70s. I'm 56, so in the mid 70s I was playing Tactics 2, Kriegspell, and over the years, I've got a lot of gaming under my belt with a variety of games and systems, and I've played some very difficult systems. And this, the brigade system is difficult, and it was more than I wanted to even, at 56, I just don't want to get into that. It's way complicated for me. And I'm sure there's people out there that don't think it's complicated, and I applaud you for your ability to, wrap your brain around it. But there's just too many counters over here that are just going to sit, information counters I'm not going to use, and then I don't have enough counters to play the game. But it's not only lock and load. It's not this game. It's not only this game. It's it's like I come across this all the time. And it makes me wonder, did they even play, do a playthrough all the way through? So you got to several times to find out if if there's flaws and so forth. So, and you need to get some fresh eyes. If you got the same people, doing all of your proofing and you still have all these errors, you need some new people. You need some fresh eyes on some of this stuff. I was a teacher. I made up my own test, my material, all that. I could look at something over and over and over and not pick up a mistake until like right before I'm handing it out. And it's like, oh man, now I got to tell the class, okay, this here, and it was just a big mess. Okay. Well, operational studies group, I think they need to get some new eyes on some stuff, because they constantly are having to do all this errata, and they've got a whole year to get it all together. And it's because they don't have a fresh set of eyes going back over it. And I don't know if they just rush everything at the last minute. I don't know what's going on. Okay. But every game they have has got so much errata. They're having to, when you're paying over $100, you just get to the point where you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to have to deal with that. So, but okay. But you know what? I can say what I want, because, hey, I don't get anything. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I used to do fake sponsors. Make people think I had like Dr. Pepper and all this, like Mossy Oak and stuff like that. That was just all in fun. I would have people comment that, hey, is that you really good? Yeah, that's mine. I got a sponsor. Nah. I don't have any of these gaming companies giving me stuff so that I'll be nice about what I say. I just say what I think and go on. So, all right, we're going to jump right in here. Enough of that. and you can always fast forward through all that kind of stuff until you actually start seeing me move stuff around, do things. You know, it's easy to fast forward on these videos. I've had people comment about, you know, too much talk and too much, you know, I hardly ever get any comments, but I've had some comments in the past where people were, you know, talking about too much talking. Or, hey, you can just fast forward. Okay, this is my video. You're not paying me for it. You know, this is, you know, I do it for the gamers so that they see the game played. Because heck, how do you know? You know, and also when you're trying to play it yourself, sometimes some of these games are there's stuff that there's mistakes, okay, and you're trying to figure out. I don't know how many times I've bought games and it's like I just turned around and got rid of it because there was too much not right. But anyway, so let's jump in here. So the last thing we had was the movement. And so now we have, we're going to go to the close combat segment, which is going to be the cavalry charges first. Now, one thing is, finally, Huno is called for a, let's see, a regiment maybe? I think they still call it a brigade, but it's cavalry. Yeah, they call it a brigade. But Huno is called, it's not Margaron anymore. He sent word to Slaim. I'm not for sure how that's pronounced. Salaim, maybe? Slaim? Slam? Slam? Slaim? 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 Psalm? Maybe Psalm. Probably Psalm. Okay. So Magaron got taken out. Okay. Which was really hurt to some degree, you know, because one thing is he had a command initiative of 3. Okay, well, over here it's only a 1. Now, the command range, Mangaron had a 5, and he also had a CV, combat value modifier, CVM, of 2. Okay, both of those went down. And really his morale modifier didn't go down that much, 1. But so Huno is called for a psalm to send Weiss with his, they call it brigade. I think it'd really be like a regiment. So because individually they'd be squadrons. And let's see, let's see what it says here on the back. What's the, let's see, what is the, what's the scale? Let's see. Yeah, it says cavalry units represent regiments or squadrons. Infantry units represent battalions, half battalions, or companies. Okay, so it would be, let's see, but how many? I was going to see how many it said. Where is it? I thought somewhere it would tell you like each strength point represented so many. I thought that was on the back. Here somewhere. Well, I know somewhere it tells you what, there it is. Let's see, strength point. Okay, so cavalry is 50. So if they have like, okay, 3 here, that's 150 horses and men. Of course, you can't see that because there we go. right there. How come we keep falling? Okay. So right here, that's at full strength, 250. Okay. This unit here, there's the 250 there, and then this one here is down to 150 strength. And those are battle cavalry, probably like dragoons. All of these are, that's light cavalry. So, and let's see on the back side. Okay. I think that, okay, we got squadrons here, I guess. But they call that the 1st Brigade. Weiss, the 1st Brigade. I have to look that up to be sure, like, what is it specifically called? I don't know if they're called, the cavalry's not called brigade, I don't believe. But it's they did that to simplify the terms. So I'm not trying to bash that or anything. I'm just trying to think of the term that you would use for cavalry. You have like divisions and battalions, regiments, so forth. So Huneau has ordered Weiss to bring his brigade over to help with the left flank. So he's on the way. And so now we have to move to the actual cavalry charges. So I've got this really neat phone, I don't know if you call it a phone stand that I think I got it off of Amazon, but off the internet. But I'm able to really reach far. It holds my camera fairly steady if I'm not, hitting the stand. And I've got something weighted underneath. It's got a flat base. It doesn't have legs. It's just, well, it's got, one I guess leg, just, a pole going down that fits into this flat stand. But the arm it bends like forward, backward, sideways, all this kind of ways. So, all right, so let's jump in here. We're gonna look at the cavalry charges that we have. We've got 3 that are designated. Okay, so we've got that one there. We've got this one here, and let's see. Should have another blue. Do I have another blue in here? No, I'll just use this black. Okay. So those are the 3 that we have. So, and I can choose which one I want to do first and so forth. Now, you're not allowed to attack the same square. That, I think, is reserved for the brigade game. I think you can go in there in like waves. In the battalion game, which that's what we're playing, you cannot attack the same square, hex, I say square, hex, okay. I shouldn't say square because that's what this is in. Hex, more than once during a phase. So you could attack that hex and then attack the hex if it backs up, attack again, I don't know. I'd have to make sure that you can even go through that hex. I know you can't attack. You can't just send all 3. I couldn't have all 3 of these cavalry units going at one time. Now you can stack. If your cavalry's stacked, you can go in it like that. But, okay, so I want to kind of talk about what we want to do here. So one thing is this one of the things that you want to use cavalry for is you want to hit these infantry units, okay, or even other cavalry units that are either shaken or disordered. Because, okay, for infantry, they can't form square. And you're going to be able to, more than likely, you're going to be able to either break them, rout them, do something. And also, you're going to have a chance of causing step losses. But if you attack when they are at normal morale, they're going to be able to get into squares like what happened here. And so cavalry alone, okay, is not going to be able to defeat infantry. Okay, infantry in a defensive position is going to be hard for cavalry alone to do anything about. They've got to have the other arms, okay, involvement. They've got to have infantry, they've got to have either infantry or, say, artillery. And this dry stream bed that goes across here, okay, what is an obstacle for artillery? So that's one good thing that they got right, I believe, is not allowing artillery to go across this, because this would be, you're going to have a ravine in here. And whether you put, you got to have a cavalry, even cavalry, would have difficulty, and they, horses let break their legs, so forth, trying to go over steep terrain, and you can't fight in it. But so artillery hasn't been so easy to get over here. I had to come all the way up to Toledo back here. Let me back off. Okay. So as they were coming in, they had to go around to Toledo, okay, for the artillery to get over here. Because down here, okay, you couldn't cross anywhere unless there was a ford or a bridge, okay, a trail or a road across. And so you've got this one here, and then back all the way up here where Toledo's at. And that's it. The two places to cross with artillery. That's it. That's the only two places. So, but I failed in getting artillery, okay, planning. Planning is so important. You've got to plan for what's going to take place when you start attacking and what your opponent's going to do. And in this game, you're going to get, I believe, results similar to what you read in these accounts in the combat. Okay. And one thing is, you're not going to get a lot of this clash of swords or steel, clash of steel. What do they call it? Cold steel. You're not going to get the cold steel very often unless it's cavalry. But with infantry versus infantry, one side or the other is going to back off, okay, flee or, be forced to retreat. Or they're going to stand there and just, fire some more at each other. And the cold steel is going to occur in these tight places. It could happen at, say, a village or, a mountainous area where the terrain is rough, where, they just can't back up fast enough. In a village, there's stuff in your way. You can't just turn and run so easily. So you have to just, hey, I've got to fight. It's either die or fight. And so in those places, locations, that's where you're going to have the cold steel. And that is more to what you find in these historical accounts of what was happening, what took place. So, but I didn't plan very well. I could have probably really broken the British left, if I had moved, you know, just something as simple as, one brigade of infantry with artillery, maybe a couple of batteries of artillery to blast these squares when they formed. So, and that's why the cavalry has just been, smashing up. It's like a wave crashing across against the coast, and it's not pushing the coast back. They're like a wave that's getting pushed back, but they keep coming in, but they keep getting pushed back. So, but now they've got some targets that are easier targets. And so that's what Huneau is hoping, that Weiss will get over to the French left and be able to attack some of these British units that are shaken, disordered, broken, and so forth. All right, so we do want to attack here. They're shaken. Okay. That unit's not in square yet. This unit can't go into square, but we can't get to that one. Well, I guess we could ride through this unit. But, let's see. These guys are shaken. I don't think voluntary movement, we're not actually stopping. So we should be able, we could ride here, here, and then here. And then this, but, okay, he can hit either one of those. This guy here is, the way he's facing, he's got to go here. Okay, or there. He could go here. But in order to go there, he'd have to come here, and he can't. He's got to go straight. You're not able to turn, okay. You got to do that before you put the charge marker on. Like this unit here, this is all he's got. He's got to have to attack here. And really, these guys need to be further back if they're going to hit that square, because they need every bit of advantage they can get. And they're only going to get one, just +1, because they've only moved 1 hex. It's better off if they were back here. Let me just put that there. If they were back here, 1, 2, 3, okay, 4. That's as far as the zone goes, the charge zone goes. So the target has to be in that 4th hex, 4th or less. But this would give a +1, 2, 3, +3 to the CV. Right here, it's not. So if you're going to hit a square, they should have been back much further. These are things that you just learn from playing, and sometimes it takes multiple attacks, charges to say, well, I'm not able to do anything against that square. Well, duh, not too many squares were broken. But you got to use every advantage that you can, and it's got to have to be this square here is going to be, it's like hitting against a brick wall. They've got a strength of 5. Well, that's going to put their CV at 5 + 1, 6. This one here has got a 2. Their CV is going to be a 3. I don't know that they're going to get much else. So they're going to be at a disadvantage there. And he could go here, here, here to hit this one. But then, the other thing is, if he moves to here, he's got to stop. If you move into the zone of control, you have to stop. And I believe the squares are going to have their, maybe they shouldn't have a zone of control, but let's see. we look at, they do though. Yeah, here we go. If I move over here, and this is all for this is good. This is all good information. You know, it's not only I talk through it, but you could sit here and say, oh, okay, and it will help you, the player, in some of these little things that we tend to not really think about, or maybe I don't. Maybe you do think about it, and I don't. Okay, so I'm looking for a square and zone of control. That's what I'm looking for. But if I just find zone of control, I think it pretty much explains it. There it is. Okay, it says units are not allowed to retreat. Okay, that's retreating. Okay, zones of control. This is page 71. I'll just let me just pull back, and then you can see this on the. Okay, combat units exert a zone of control into their front hexes. The following never exert a zone of control: limbered artillery, units in road column, units that are broken or routed, and leaders. So that would say, they're right there. If they're in the square, they're in a zone of control. Okay, then if we look over here, it says combat units may only leave an enemy zone of control as the first action they take during that movement. Combat units expend an additional 2 movement points to leave the enemy zone of control. Okay, it says unlimbered artillery may prolong out of. Okay, combat units may not move directly from one enemy zone of control to another enemy zone of control, or a hex. Enemy zone of control hex. Now they can move advance after combat. Okay, so that does not say just infantry. So cavalry, they move close to that square. Of course, they're going to get they're getting fired on. Okay. Now they don't, as they enter the hex, they're going to, if they attack the hex, and they're going to if they leave the hex. So basically, cavalry is not wanting to ride close to squares because one thing, they're easy targets. The horse is an easy target. So that's the reason they just can't ride right by. Okay, so all right. So that was just the explanation of, okay, this is why they, you got to think about all this before before you place your charge markers. You got to think about, okay, do I need to get those cavalry units back? And I didn't think about it. So in your games, when you're playing, think about it. Think about, okay, how do I give my cavalry units, okay, squadrons, how do I give them the best opportunity to be successful? Now, if you're wanting to have a follow-on charge, you have to get close, like I'm close. I can do a follow-on charge if I'm able to push these units back, then, I can do a follow-on charge and hit them twice. But, the only way they're probably gonna be able to punch past these, or punch these squares and break them, is to hope that the British roll low. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and do the one that's the furthest out here. Okay, that one out there. Let's see. I can kind of get really close here and back up just a little bit. Let's see here. You know, last time I didn't do a very good job of keeping everything in the, so maybe I need to just back off a little bit so we can see everything. Last time we did this, okay. So we're going to do that one first. So let's take these out of the way. Okay. And the thing is, the charts, the book, everything is, I mean, just so well done. Edited and organized. The layout of the charts and the books and the, you know, the background of the paper, I think really helps, instead of just having a plain white background. Okay, but they've got the tinted, you know, like a tan. Even the, you know, the charts, the way the charts are done, top notch. Okay, I've got no complaints with any of that. I mean, it's just well done. So, and the thing is, you got this, let's see, it's the battalion and brigade games procedures chart. And you've got the charge procedure on one side, and on the other you have the sequence of play and the assault procedure. And I use this just constantly. And so that's why I put it into this little, you know, cased it in here to keep it protected, because I use it so much. Okay, so we have the charge procedure. So we have charge movement. So I leave this in the hex. And all I do is I just move this unit forward. So, and they can't change direction, facing, so forth. They just got to go in. So they hit right there. All right, so we've got the square here. See if we can get a little closer here. There we go. All right. Empty target hex. No. That would be units that are automatically eliminated, like a broken unit. I mean, a routed unit. Okay. Retreat before combat. Some units can retreat. No. Combat versus infantry and artillery. Okay. Defender morale check. So here we check the defender's morale. So targets in square, they get a +20. Target has skirmishers? No. Target of assault? No. Charge from the flank? No. Can't be charged from the flank in a square. And then we have the charging unit CVM. Which is 2. But we multiply that by 5. So that's going to be a -10. So they have a +10. Okay, rolled a 69, so they passed. Which is going to be very beneficial to the square. So we remove any skirmishers, and then we go to defensive fire. Now, defensive fire, that unit's in a square. So they're not going to be able to use their full strength of 5, okay, which is that black number in that white box right here. Their fire strength is 5, but they don't have, you know, they've got part of their strength is facing these other directions, these three other directions. So it says the infantry in column or square uses a base fire strength value of 1, regardless of the number of strength points in the hex. So they've got a strength of 1. That's one of the bad things about being in a square. Okay, but you're protected on all sides. You can't be outflanked and so forth. So they do get the well-directed fire. So that's +2. So now they're at 3. And they're firing at cavalry. So they're going to have a strength of 5. I mean, strength of, let's see, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. And they rolled a 9, which is not good. Okay. So the fire was ineffective. And we don't even have to check morale, which they rolled an 88. So they would have passed even with that 20, unless, well, in order to get -20, you've got to go, you'd have to get, they'd have to get a 99. But, so they rolled a 9. So now we go to, we look, well, if we have any terrain modifier and so forth, we take a look at that. So now we go to the cold steel. So, with the cold steel, the defender has a 1. That's the black number in the green box, olive box. Okay. And they get +1 for each strength point. So they got 5 plus 1 is 6. So they're going to have a strength of 6 to start with. Okay. The odds are 1 to 1, 5 to 5. Okay. I'll say, okay, so charge distance is +1. They moved 1 hex. And the cavalry unit has a CV of 2. So now they're at 3 presently. Okay. They're not in column. They're not in their flank or rear. So that's where we're at. And then what we do is we each side rolls a 10-sided die, and we add those numbers there. And it's pretty simple. It's not very complicated. But all of these modifiers, are important. So you have to be sure that you get all the modifiers and so forth. So, ouch. Okay. This is where you have a bad roll. So, the cavalry, the French cavalry, rolled an 8. And they get to add the 3, so they're going to have an 11, which is going to cause a step loss. The British infantry in square rolled a 1. So they're going to have a 7, which is no loss. But more important is they lost. And when you lose 2 morale levels. So we can move this stuff back. Move this stuff back. Okay. So the square is gone. They go to shaken. Okay. And they also have to lose a step. Okay. And they have to go to column. They don't get to go to line. When they come out of a square, they've got to go, let's see, right here. So they go to there. So they lose a step. They can change their facing. Okay. And then this cavalry unit moves in here, okay, and becomes disordered. So, if we have a disordered marker, if we do, okay. Let's see here. Let me get over here. I'm looking for the I remember reading it. Surely it wasn't in another game. I don't think they can choose when you come out of square. I believe you have to be in. You have to go to. You got to go to column first. Okay, let me find. I guess I have to go back here to formations. Fire combat. Oh. Really, there's not a lot there about that, but I know, seems like you come out of square, you have to go into column. But I don't remember where I saw that at. Maybe it has to do with in here with the morale. I know you can be in disorder or shaken and still be in the square if you started in square. But see, they were forced to retreat because when you're shaken, you have to fall back a hex. You're forced back. Okay, it says unlimited artillery units do not retreat when entering the shaken morale state. Okay, but infantry still must retreat. I don't think. I know one time I moved artillery back and I shouldn't have. Okay, so it says shaken units retain the same facing and formation as if they were in a normal morale state. So maybe they still fall back. I don't see how they can fall back in the square. Shaken units retain the same facing and formation as if they were in the normal morale state. Okay, yes. Well, it says, okay, when a unit rallies from broken or rout to shaken, it enters column formation. Okay, so I guess they're going to stay in the square. It's just the square moves back. I guess they move back and reform. So units that are shaken are not allowed to voluntarily change formation. Well, this wouldn't be voluntary. They're forced to move. Okay. Okay, so I guess they maintain the square. Where's it at? Okay, so they maintain the square, but of course they've got the, and if someone else comes across something that says something different, but the way the rules read, they would still be in their square. And you can move a hex. You can move when you're in square. Okay. But they become shaken. Okay. All right, so now we have advance after combat, pursuit. Cavalry may attempt recall to avoid pursuit. Otherwise, pursuit is mandatory. All right, so they've got a roll to see, I guess, if they do a follow-on charge. Okay, which they could attack here or here. They don't have to continue to attack here, I guess. So, all right, let's take a look at what pursuit says. I know I'm just rolling morale, but we want to check this out. Since, okay, that's follow-on charge there. Okay, so we're on page 83. Okay, and why not just take a look at it here? We'll just pull over here, and I'll just pull this over, and we'll take a look. Let's see if I can get this to, there we go. All right, so what we have here is it says cavalry that does not pass a recall check, okay, must pursue units that retreated before the target hex for any reason, including retreat before combat. The decision to attempt a recall must be made before the pursuit begins. A broken or routed stack that is pursued at least one hex loses one step. So cavalry that pursues must follow the path of retreating units exactly, changing facing as necessary. Cavalry must pursue up to the point where the cavalry begins in or enters an enemy zoc. The retreating units enter terrain impassable to cavalry. The retreating units enter light density, medium density, heavy density hexes. The retreating units cross a hex-out obstacle. The retreating units enter the hex of a friendly stack. The pursuing units move adjacent to the retreating stack. Okay, and that's what's happened. We've moved adjacent to the retreating stack, but we also entered an enemy zoc, which is that other unit that's in square. Okay, a reaction charge will end the pursuit. Okay, we don't have that. So let's flip this over. So if I just want to not even worry about rolling, and just go ahead and do the pursuit, then, cavalry that advanced after combat into an open terrain hex and was not required to pursue may attempt to conduct a follow-on charge. All right, so in order to do the follow-on charge, I guess what I've got to do is I've got to roll not to pursue. All right, so let's roll. And if they pass, I can do a follow-on charge. If not, then I can either stay there or I can regroup. So, all right, so let's go back over here. All right, so we have a morale of 35. They're disordered now, so -5. Rolled a 92, so they passed. So now they can either charge, basically the follow-on charge, they can decide. Well, it says to make a follow-on charge, the cavalry must first pass a morale check. Well, we passed a morale check. But that morale check was basically not to pursue. But I think in this case, I think the pursuit has more to do with units that are like broken or rout, and not just shaken. So we passed, so we can attack either this stack here, okay, that's in square, or of course we want to attack the shaken ones, okay. Well, I mean, I guess if we attack this, then that would open up this guy to attack these guys back here. But we want to hit these guys. All right, so here we go. And I don't need that column thing because they got to stay in their square. All right, so they've got to roll. We go back to the charge procedure. Charge movement, empty target hex, retreat before combat, combat versus infantry and artillery. So defender morale check. So they're going to have, they're in square. So they have the +20. They're shaken though, so that's -10. So they have a +10, but then we have the charging unit CVM, which is 2, but they're disordered, so -1. So that's only a 1 now. Times 5, so that's going to be -5. So they're going to have a +5. 33 +5. All right, so they are going to hold. Okay, so they pass their morale. Now we go to the defensive fire. We don't have any skirmishers. It's already moved. All right, so they get well-directed fire. They're shaken, though. They're in squares, so they only get a +1. So this is -1. So they're at 0. So they get +2 for being well-directed fire, and they get +1 for target cavalry. So they have a 3. Ooh, they rolled an 85. That's going to be a morale check -10. Okay. And the French player rolled a 38. -5 is 33. So they will become shaken and forced back. Now, so as they are moving back, they get fired on by this square here. This square gets to fire. Okay. And I don't know if you could say they're not firing into their flank, but okay. It doesn't matter if they fire through the rear. So they don't get that +2. So they have a strength of 1. Put my blue here. They're disordered. So fire strength of 1, +1 for firing at cavalry. 48, no effect. Okay. Well, this unit's not disordered or shaken. So, all right, so they're shaken. And they are going to be spent. So they get 2 of these spent markers. So they get forced back 1 to here. Flip that over. Spent, spent, shaken. All right, so that cavalry charge is over. Now we can go to this one. Okay, now we move to the next charge, which will be this unit here against this square here. So we're going to put the charge marker right here, leave it in the hex, and we do the charge movement. And we could move here or could move there. We're actually going to move here. Either way, we're going to end up in this hex if we're successful. So, of course, this unit is in square. So, that's where we're at. There's no empty target hex or retreat before combat, so we have combat versus infantry, so the defender has to check morale. Okay, so what we do is we go to our chart and we look up the charge, defender, morale count, die roll modifiers. And we see that we have target and squares plus 20. There is no skirmishers. They're not also target of assault. There's no flank, no rear. Okay, but we do have charging units CVM with this super imposed number 2. Okay, we go back down here. Charging units CVM times 5. Okay, so they have a CVM of 2. That's the black number in the olive box, green box. So that's minus 10. So they had plus 20. Now it's minus 10, so they've got a plus 10. And they rolled a 12, which becomes a 22, which means they are disordered and they do not get the well-directed fire. So let's see here. Where do we have? No. Okay, I'll have to take one off of somewhere else. Okay. So they are disordered. I'll put it over here. Okay. We remove any skirmishers. We go to defensive fire. So we have they have a strength of 1 being in square, minus 1 for being disordered, so that's a 0, plus 1 for firing at cavalry. So they're going to have a 1, strength of 1. They rolled a 15, so no effect. So we go straight to the cold steel. All right, so we look at the odds. It's 5 to 3. So that's going to be 3 to 2. So that's going to be plus 1 here for the cavalry. So they have a plus 1. And we add that to their CV, which is 2. So now, oh, here it is. We've got a 3. So we can remove this. So they have a 3 to start so far. Then we have the charge distance, which is they charged 1 hex. So they have a 4. And let's move that here. Now they have a 1. Okay.
They're disordered, so that now they're -1, so they're at 0. They get a +1 for each strength point. So they're going to have a 3. And that is it. Okay. So now we roll 1 die for each. 2 10-sided die for each one. So we got a 1 for the French, and the British rolled a 3. So the British have a total of 6, and the French have a total of 5. So the British are going to be victorious. And the French lose 2 morale states. So they become shaken and are forced back. Let's see here. All right, I don't have any more, so I have to put one of these discs on them. Get rid of this. And we'll get rid of this. And they're spent. So they can fall back here. They're going to fall back to here. And they're spent. And they're shaken. Yellow is shaken for my stuff there. All right. The square is disordered. If they wasn't disordered, they'd become disordered. Next, we go to the last charge, which is here. And their target is that unit, those units right there, the Portuguese, which also has I think a green jacket in there, and they're in column. So they're shaken, but first we got to do the charge movement. So we have here and then here. Okay. They don't have much strength. Okay, so we've got shaken. We've got Trent. And then we've got these 2 units here. All right, so they're going to have to check morale. And the top unit will be the one that checks it. So we take a look. They're not in square. They don't have any skirmishers. They're not change charge from their flank or their rear. Charging units CVM is going to be, they have a 0, and then there's also the 1 for the leader. So it's going to be 1, so that's going to be -5. And then they're shaken, so they have -10. The leader will add 1. So it's -15 plus 1 is, so they're at -14. That's where they're at. They rolled a 56. I think they're going to pass pretty easily. So -14, it'd be 42. So they passed. And so we have no skirmishers, defensive fire. Now, they pass, so they have well-directed fire. Their strength in column is 1, -1 for being shaken, so they're at 0. But they get +2 for well-directed fire and +1 for firing at cavalry. So their fire strength is a 3. And they rolled a 41. That'll be a morale check, and it's just straight up. They rolled the French rolled a 63, so they passed. And so now we go to the cold steel. All right, so odds, we've got 1 plus, that's 7. So that's going to be 1 to 3, but we round down to the nearest odd, so it'd be 1 to 3. So they get +3 for that. Okay. And they have a -1 for the guy at the top and -2 there, so they've got -3. So they are now at just 0. Okay, the attacker charge distance. Okay, so they were here. So they charged 1, 2 hexes, so that's 2. And then they get the CV of the leader, so they're at 3. So they have a +3. Let's keep that there. So we got a +3 here. All right. So let's roll to see what we get. All right, we got an 8 and a 3. So that's going to be 11. Well, wait a minute. They have a -3 for being shaken. So they actually have a -3. So they are going to lose a step because we're looking at 11. So that's a step loss, which means the green jackets are gone. They're the ones that were out front, and that was Heel's green jackets. Okay. Let's move this out of the way. And they will rout. So, let's see here. Let's get this out of the way. We can remove that red disc because they're not in any kind of formation. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. So I guess since they're having to cross that hex-set obstacle, they would have to roll for their morale to see if, yeah, that's a -10. And they've got a -20. I think they're going to be destroyed. Well, I mean, I guess they could avoid that, but they would be going like, I got the wrong thing here. There we go. Route, they were here, so 1, 2, they could go there, I guess. Back off that way, which is back toward their supply right there. So we won't have to roll there. But what we do have to do is they have to move into that hex. They become disordered. Take one of these markers here. So they will, okay, the leader, okay, moves back here with them. Okay, so they have to move into that hex, like so. And there's a skirmisher here. So that skirmisher will fire on this unit. And they're disordered. So we have a skirmisher there. We'll fire here. Strength of 1, and they're firing at cavalry, so +1. So that's strength of 2. Okay, so 83 morale check, and they rolled a 33. I think they're gonna, yeah, they're gonna be shaken and forced back. Okay, now as they do that, then this unit will be able to fire on them. They're in column. Strength of 1, -1, +1 for the cavalry. They rolled a 3, so no effect. So they get pushed back to here. And they are spent. Okay. All right. So that takes care of the charges. So now we come over here to I guess we've got this assault here. And this unit here is not, let's see, that unit is not in a skirmish formation. So they're not able to withdraw. So got an assault here. They're shaken. We got 2 leaders here, but we're going to use the Lason against that unit. Okay. So attackers got to check morale. They've got -10, but they have +5 for assault. So -5. Rolled a 50. So they passed. Now, this unit here is in column, but they won't have any, let's see, don't think, no, they might. Let's see what kind of modifiers they've got. Nope. Okay. So just straight up. They rolled a 58, so they passed. So both sides will have well-directed fire. We'll do the defensive side first. They have a strength of 1. Well-directed fire is +2, so they're at 3. Targets in column, that's 4. But they're also in shrub, so that's -1. So they're going to be at 3, strength of 3. 27, no effect. Okay, so now the assaulting battalion has a strength of 1 because they're in column. They're shaken, so -1. And their target is in column. So that's +1. So they have a strength of 1, but they have well-directed fire. Okay, so that's +2, so they're at 3. They rolled a 58. That's going to be a morale check. And they rolled a 34, which is a pass. Okay. So they're already shaken, so they won't change. But this unit here will go to disorder. All right, so that takes care of that assault. And now that concludes the 1400 turn. But I got these guys. I didn't bring them in. I've got these 3 units here that have to come in over here where we've got right here. This location right here. That's D. And so there's these 3, let's see, company and a battalion, 2 companies and a battalion, 2 light companies and a battalion. So they will be in, what they call it? Do they call it road march? Let's see. Yeah, or a force march. But in order to do that, I think they have to be French infantry can move 12. Let's see, force march. Let's see. All right, so okay. Oh, okay. So to force march, they're going to have to take a morale check. Okay, for, let's see. For every movement point over their normal movement, which is 7.
So that would be -5 for each one, but they have to be in order. And I guess when they enter the map, they're in order. They have an order. They're in order. So they're going to be out of order. And they actually are under who know. So who know could have rode back to put them in order. And I should have had them come in. I forgot all about them. So I'll go ahead and move them. I really don't get much benefit on that road. Must be in road column to use trail, road, bridge, forward, so forth. So it's each hex costs 3/4. So basically, let's see. So they come in, this is 3/4. Next hex would be 1 1/4. Here would be 2. 3. Let's see. All right, so okay. So that would be 3. Right. Okay. So 3/4, 1 1/4. 2. Am I doing that right? I think so. So they move 3 hexes. No. No, that's not right. So 3/4. This would be 1 1/2. Let's see. 1 1/2. 1 1/2. This would be 2 1/4. 3. So yeah, 3 hexes, 4 hexes at cost of 3. Yeah. So that's 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 6. And then that would be 7. Okay. And if these guys were flipped, oh, you can't flip over. Neither one of them can flip over. So they would just have to be back like that. Okay. Something similar to that. I think maybe I did that right. I have no idea. I don't think so. 4 hexes at the cost of 3. So are they going to even get, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here, so that'll be 14, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then, so that they might have a couple of turns that they could possibly do something. But it's not going to impact the battle. They might be able to hold a flank. The French really don't have
Well, both armies don't have any reserves. So oh, we got another assault here. I missed it. Right there. We got an assault. So, okay, we've got Crawford is getting assaulted right here. So we've got an assault. They're disordered. They've got a skirmisher. They're disordered with a skirmisher. And they have the leader. So the attacker has to roll for his morale. They've got a -5. 77, they passed. The defender has a -5, but a +3 with Crawford. So that'll be, and let's see, and the other thing is they have a skirmisher. So that's +10. So they're going to pass. They rolled a 62, so they're going to pass. So now we've got defensive fire. We got to remove the skirmishers. So they've got a strength of 4, -1, strength of 3 now. Well-directed fire, so they have a strength of 5. The target's in column, so they're at strength of 6. And they rolled a 1, so no effect. And the attacker is in column. They have a strength of 1. They're disordered, so now that's going to be 0. An 84 be a morale check. They rolled a 61, but that's going to be -20 and -5, so it's -25, but +3, so -22. So that's 40. It ends up being 39. So they barely pass. 39. So they passed. All right. So they stay where they're at. Okay. So I don't think I missed anything else there. So far, the French have been able to hold their left flank. And again, it's going to come down to I think who gets the initiative. I need to move this leader out of here. Messler. Delabor's two brigades are fighting separately. They're not supporting each other. You got Thomies over here, and this was Brenner, but now it's Messler. And Messler's involved in, he's kind of got enveloped almost. So he could easily get annihilated. This unit here was to turn and attack. Doesn't have to be successful. He just has to, he's going to put a lot of pressure on them because he's going to be attacking their flank. Feign. Feign needs to get an order and attack and assault. Assault here. Assault, but it can't assault really there. But assault with this unit against here, and this artillery unit blast away. What do we have back here? And Struther. And then here, Burn. You don't have much left. Okay, over there, that cavalry is susceptible to attack. Heal. Could step out here to assault. They're spent. All of these, they don't have any. They don't have anybody to countercharge. So they need to come out of their squares and assault those cavalry units. Yep. They left themselves opened up there. I did. Exposed my cavalry. They're spent. They can't countercharge. And I don't think they can. I'll have to look. I don't think they can retreat either. They can retreat. Let's see. I don't know. I have to look to see if they have to be in a certain morale state to be able to retreat from combat. And the other thing is they're spent. Some of them. Well, all of them are spent. At least they have at least one spent marker. So you've got to leave, part of your cavalry you've got to leave fresh so that you can protect your tired cavalry against counterattack. And these tactics are the same whether you're playing La Bataille, Sound of Drums, let's see, the Battles of Napoleon, Glory and Empire, let's see, what's Legion War Games. Let's see what is theirs called? Didier Roy Viva la Emperor series. I need to get that back out and get another play of that. Got so much stuff to take a look at. All right, so I guess we're gonna move to another turn, and we're gonna have a couple of leaders coming back, or their replacements coming back. And we'll take a look at the victory conditions. Both sides have lost quite a bit. The French have lost almost an entire brigade, and of course the British have lost more than, well, they've lost one brigade and almost two more. So, been pretty bloody. We'll get these loaded up and then see what happens in the next one.